Good morning, YouTube. It is bright and early on a Saturday morning. I have been up since like 5:30. Not that I had to wake up that early, but I don't know. I just woke up that early. It just happened. But anyways, I am getting ready here in about 20 minutes to meet my client, Jen, who also lives in the same area that I live in. We are going to drive over to Orlando to watch the KLASH, which is essentially like the first kind of big show, at least here in Florida, of the year. So the season has officially started in the bodybuilding world. This is kind of like the first weekend of shows. So Orlando, not that it's like in my backyard since I live in Tampa, but it's like a hour 15 minute drive if there's no traffic. So it's not too bad. And we have a couple of pro physique athletes that are competing there today. I don't personally have any clients, but my client Jen and I are gonna go together, and I actually have another client who I'm going to meet up with there as well. I always like to encourage, my girls to go to shows and watch. And also I think it's just fun to have that team camaraderie and to support other team pro physique athletes on stage. And also I'm freaking excited to see the bikini pro portion. So when I get there, I'm gonna try to vlog as much as I can. I wanna kind of take you guys through what a show day looks like, just from the standpoint of like a spectator's view, right? So most shows, I would say about 95% of shows in the MPC are always split up. So you have pre-judging in the morning and you have finals at night, right? So Jen and I are gonna go for pre-judging, and mainly, and I get asked this question all the time. Pre-judging is if you had to pick, like if you're somebody who's wanting to go support a family member, or a friend competing, I always say prejudging is like the part of the show I would go to personally, just because prejudging is where, everybody does their routine, you do comparisons. Like I said, I'll get some footage of that later on if I can. And usually the prejudging is where the majority of the judging is done, right? Finals is a lot of times you're not really doing your individual routine. Maybe you're just kind of coming on, hitting your front pose, and then it's awards. So I always say if you had to pick, yes, finals is cool because you get to see the awards, but prejudging, you're gonna get to see mainly like all the big routines, and you're gonna have a pretty clear idea after prejudging how somebody did. So anyways, I'm gonna meet Jen here in a few minutes. Gotta get my food because I gotta pack some food that I prepped last night, and packed like a meal and a snack because we're gonna probably leave after prejudging and come back. So won't be gone all day, but I will take you guys along for the ride. Also, just super quickly to show you guys what I am packing, I made my protein coffee for the road. So I showed this in my last video. It's just coffee, almond milk, PESCIENCE Cake Pop protein, and some liquid stevia. And I really enjoy drinking this. So I've got this for the road. I've got an apple, and then I just have a meal that I prepped last night. I have some hard-boiled eggs, hard-boiled egg whites, air fried carrots, and which are my new favorite obsession. And then I have some of the Trader Joe's fat-free refried beans. So I'm gonna take these two things to kind of hold me over while I'm over there. Got my protein coffee, my liquid stevia in the background, which I will probably bring because if there's a Starbucks mid-show, I probably will get another decaf coffee or something. But anyways, gonna pack this up in my backpack and hit the road. This is our open. All right, we made it. Say hi, Steven.
Hi, Steven.
Oh my God. And then I'm with my client, Jen. So we made it, no traffic, and they're on figure. So I think bikini is next. I'm not sure, but we're getting close. So this is the only clip I got from the amateur portion of the show. I'm going to do a voiceover later in this video. I got a lot of pro footage, but I wanted to kind of just show you guys like what to expect when you attend a show. I know I get a lot of questions, especially from first-time competitors, about like, what are you doing on stage? When do you do your routines? So this was after everybody in this specific class had done their individual routine. As you can see, this girl is finishing up right there. She was the last one to do her individual routine, and then they called every girl back out from the class, and this is where they do comparison. So they're going to line everybody up, and then basically the head judge is going to have them hold their poses. She's going to move them around, and anytime the girl who is going to be in the center is always going to be presumably that first place. So the more in the center you get moved, the higher up placing wise you are essentially at. So as you can see, she's moving them around right now, and then stay tuned for later in this video and I will show you guys some pro footage. All right, you guys, so I'm just walking around and I ran into a follower, so introduce yourself. What's your name?
Yes, my name is Natasha. I'm an NPC athlete from Puerto Rico, Bikini division.
That's amazing. So how did it go? Tell us how it went.
Oh, it went very good and very fast.
It was fast, yes. It is literally like 10:30 and with all the amateur shows done. But you look beautiful. I love this whole look. You got the purple suit. She looks gorgeous. So I'm so happy I got to meet you.
I'm so happy to have you too. And also, I want to thank Lexie so much for the TSA videos because I have to travel from Puerto Rico to here.
Oh my gosh, yes, the videos I have about traveling. Oh my gosh, I'll link that below, you guys.
How to travel with food.
Traveling from Puerto Rico, how long of a trip was it?
It's 3 hours and a half.
Okay,
from
okay.
Puerto Rico to Florida. And the food and in the cooler and the ice packs went perfect.
I love that. Well, you're awesome. All right, you guys, so bear with me. I know the video footage is not the best here. I did not take this video footage on anything fancy, just my phone. So this was going to be the pro portion of the show. So as you can see, and the biggest thing I always notice as a spectator when I'm watching the pros right after the amateurs is, and I think you'll be able to see it here, just the muscularity and the density, and also the stage presence. You're gonna just generally notice that the pros all have this very polished stage presence. Not saying amateurs don't, right? But it's very rare that you see a pro who has anything less than like amazing, immaculate stage presence. So they actually bring all the pros out first and compare all of them like they are here. They do the comparison lineups first. So they bring them all out in groups like this. And they kind of, they make them turn around, make them face forward. They compare them first. And then they actually do their individual routines after this. So this is just one of the groups leaving and then another group coming out. So yeah, they bring all of the pros out in groups. And as you're going to notice here, you can see all different heights. So when you are in pro bikini, there are no longer any height classes. So everybody is just compared, everybody's compared to each other, regardless of if you're 5 foot or you're 5'8". As you can see, definitely different heights here. So again, this is just when they bring them all out at the beginning and do comparisons first. And then you are going to see I grabbed one individual routine. And ironically enough, it's the girl that won the pro show, and you'll see that next. It's really funny because the more and more I go to shows, the more you kind of start to get an eye for the sport, and you can really tell, okay, when a girl walks out, if she's going to be up there in placings. And I told my clients that I was sitting next to, as soon as Ali Vathauer, who is performing here, as soon as she walked out, I said, I think this is her show to win. I said, I think she's going to at least be in the top 2, and she definitely was, and come to find out, she won the show. So this was the winner of the show. The winner of the Bikini Pro Show. As you can see, she's just extremely polished from top to bottom with her presence. She really does embody the bikini division, which I'll talk about later at the end of this video. I'll talk about, what head judge Sandy Williamson has specifically said they want to see, as I know it can sometimes be a little confusing to some girls. So yeah, this was the winner of the show. She definitely deserved it and just looked absolutely amazing. So congrats, Ali. And then this is at the very end of prejudging. So this is where everybody had done their individual routines, right? And then they call all of the pros back out on stage, and now they are calling out the top 7, 8. So this is what we refer to as first call outs. So this is going to be like your top 1 through 7 or 8, depending on how many they call out. So as you can see, Sandy is calling out the top, I think she called out the top 7 or 8 here. So this was after all of the pros had performed their routine, and then she brings out the first call outs and then compares them so that way she can figure out who's going to be, in what placing. So as you can see, Ali Vathauer, the winner, is on the very left here, but she is quickly moved into the center, which again means that usually the athlete is going to be first, second if they're, in that center place. So I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit of this footage in the voiceover. I hope it was helpful and just nice to be able to see this just from a competitor's viewpoint. Or if you haven't ever attended a show, hopefully this was just some helpful and insightful footage for you to watch as well. Hello, my friends. Okay, so I made it home from Orlando and just got home actually, just ate, and that was fun. Okay, so I did want to make a point in this video. So obviously I got some B-roll, some video clips. They were not the best quality, I apologize, but I wanted to kind of show you guys, especially those of you who watch my channel and maybe you've never competed before. I know I always get a lot of questions about like how shows work, you know, what it means when you're doing different things on stage. You know, do you do your full routine? What do comparisons look like? So hopefully that footage was helpful, even though it wasn't the best quality. But I wanted to kind of also make a point to maybe sit down in this video and show you guys, or not show you guys, but talk to you guys a little bit about what I noticed, not only at this particular show, but to actually talk a little bit more about bikini, the standard of the division. So I don't know if those, or those of you guys watching, if all of you guys watched this or not, but I had the pleasure of interviewing Sandy Williamson, who is the head IFBB NPC judge, and she and I and Paul had an interview on the Pro Physique Code podcast. I'll put the actual podcast below in the description, but I had the pleasure of getting to interview her, and I was able to ask her some different questions about, you know, judging, bikini, things they look for, things they don't like. So I thought I would maybe make a point in this video, considering it is kind of a show vlog, to talk about that, because I thought that'd be helpful. So made it back home. I'm gonna eat a little bit more, and then I will sit down and wrap up this video, and we'll do a little bit of bikini chat. So I told you I was gonna sit down and I was gonna chat a little bit about bikini. So I'm like literally still fresh from just getting home, still have my lanyard on. I decided, I think I'm going to collect my show lanyards this year. I think that would be fun. Just start a little collection. And then it kind of reminds me too of what shows like I went to in person. So anywho, so I want to specifically talk a little bit about what I observed at today's show, and also just talk a little bit about, you know, what is bikini? What are the judges looking for? As I mentioned, I interviewed Sandy Williamson a few weeks ago, and, you know, I think it is important, especially, you know, I think back to when I started bikini, and when I started competing, and I had absolutely no idea what the judges were like truly judging, because I think that there is a common misconception that it's just a matter of who has the coolest physique, right? And that is absolutely not what it comes down to. You know, there is a specific criteria. There is criteria that needs to be met in order to, you know, win a show, right? And whoever shows up at a given show that day closest to the criteria is going to win, right? So specifically, I wanted to talk a little bit about we'll touch on what I noticed today in the show, and then we'll talk a little bit about what bikini is, what the judges are looking for, what Sandy specifically said is really important for just bikini, and for also, I asked her personally what makes an athlete stand out on stage, so I do want to share her feedback on that. So I would say that the main thing I noticed today is, I guess, two things that kind of stand out to me. It is March 30th, and this is kind of one, like I would say this is an earlier show because the season really just started, and I do tend to notice that a lot of shows earlier on in the year are a little bit smaller in size, you know, because if you think about it, not a lot of girls are typically ready for a show at this point, or, you know, maybe some girls ended the season last year, you know, in the winter or in the fall, and, you know, they're not quite in a spot where they're even prepping yet, or, you know, ready for a show. So I generally find that shows a little bit earlier in the year, not all the time, but in this specific instance, in this specific show, was a little bit smaller. And I think that, again, just has every bit to do with the fact that it is very early on in the year. Now, mark my word, there's going to be another KLASH show here in about a month called Girl Power. I bet it'll probably be double the size, just because, you know, I think give it another month, and I think you'll see a lot more girls who are ready to get on stage. Another thing I noticed, and this is just like the suit stylist in me, because I do also help girls pick out their suits. That's something I do on the side, and I always have that link below too in the description box if you do want to chat about suits. I do work part-time for Angel Competition Bikinis, and I am trained as a suit stylist there. But something I noticed that kind of stood out to me is we have two different top options through Angel Competition Bikinis, and most suit companies have both of these options, where you have the standard cup and you have the molded top option. So the molded cup is going to be a little bit more, it's like I don't know, it's a little bit more like, it's molded, I guess. And then the triangle top is just a little bit more flexible. And I noticed that I did not see barely any molded cups on stage today. I would say all of the bikini tops I saw were all the standard cups. So that was an interesting observation. But now let's get to talking a little bit about bikini. What is bikini? What is being judged? And again, I think one of the biggest common misconceptions, especially with people who are newer to the sport, is that, you know, you go to a show, if you have nothing, you know, if you know nothing about sport. You may go to a show, you may see a lineup of girls in bikini and think, oh, the girl who looks the coolest is going to win. And that's not always the case. You know, bikini is all about fitting a certain criteria, and really bikini is all about having that hourglass shape. So let's break it down. What does that mean? You know, what does that entail, right? Hourglass shape is going to be obviously small waist, you know, not broad shoulders, but bubbly shoulders, bubbly glutes. So it's all about posing in a way to make your physique look like an hourglass, essentially, right? So anytime I am posing, any of my clients, we are always posing to help them to match that kind of hourglass criteria or that hourglass shape, right? And so bikini is all about having full, round, bubbly muscle bellies, right? Bikini, and this is something Sandy Williamson specifically said in the podcast, it is not about who is the most conditioned. It's not about having striations. It's not about having a ton of vascularity. They don't want to see separation in your muscles. So if you're walking and you're seeing visible separation in your quads, that is one thing Sandy specifically said, like, they don't want to see that. And honestly, today, even, you know, Sandy was the head judge. I did see some girls who were super, super lean placing almost last. And, you know, and it just comes down to bikini is not, it's not a contest of who is the most like shredded to the bone, right? You know, bikini is supposed to exude health and femininity, right? Even though we know getting stage lean is not necessarily the healthiest look ever, on stage, it shouldn't look unhealthy. It shouldn't look like you're dieted down. It shouldn't look like you are, you know, super, super shredded to the core. And you sure should not see a ton of separation of the muscles or too much vascularity or just too much graininess or conditioning, right? You want to be able to see that full round bubbliness to the muscle, but you want to be conditioned enough to the point where you can actually see the muscle, right? And the muscle definition, right? And a lot of times amateur athletes struggle with, you know, they're like, well, I've gotten as lean as I can get and I'm still not, you know, seeing the muscle definition that I should be seeing. And a lot of times that just has to go to show that you just need more muscle, right? The more muscle you add to that base layer on your physique, the less tiny you'll have to get to see that muscle pop beneath the skin, right? So, you know, it's all about that full round bubbly muscle, specifically in the shoulders, specifically in the glutes, but nothing too hard, nothing too grainy. You don't want to see separation. You don't want to see too much vascularity, right? And then another big thing is, you know, and this goes into what Sandy told me, you know, I asked her, Sandy, what takes an athlete from good to great? And her immediate answer was, oh my gosh, an athlete's confidence in their stage presence. You know, judges notice when girls just have it together on stage with their presentation and their posing. You know, I'm not trying to say you can get on stage with the worst physique and win just by your posing, but, you know, bikini posing has every bit to do with your full package, right? You could have the best physique on stage, and if you don't know how to pose it, you know, you're going to drop a couple placements, right? And so it's all about having that confidence on stage. And, you know, even if you aren't somebody who's a naturally confident person, turn it on for stage, right? I mean, you guys would be surprised by how many bikini pros, like I've gotten to know in person, who are actually very shy naturally, but you would never guess seeing them on stage because they just know how to turn it on stage. So, you know, if you find that you're not a naturally confident person and that, you know, posing is super uncomfortable for you. I mean, newsflash, like it's pretty uncomfortable for most people. It's usually not super natural for most people, but you just have to turn that on when you get on stage because it really does make a difference. The judges can tell if you're nervous. The judges can tell if you don't look confident, right? And that's something Sandy specifically said. She's like, you know, we can tell when girls aren't quite confident in their package. Like it shows in their face, it shows in their, you know, just in everything they do on stage. And so last but not least, I want to wrap up this video here. One last piece of advice, and I guess another observation from today is, ladies, two things actually. One, work on controlling your core the moment you step on stage, the moment you step off, right? Even when you are just like walking on stage or walking off, you need to keep that core controlled, because if you don't and the judges see that, that's just not a good look, right? Even when you're in comparisons and you're switching positions, always keep that core controlled. And second off, practice holding your poses, because if you are in comparisons and you're in a really competitive class, they're probably going to keep you on stage for a pretty long time. So you need to be able to hold your poses for a decently long amount of time, just in the instance that you are in a class that is a little competitive and they keep you on stage for a while during comparisons. So anyways, well, I'm going to wrap up this video here before it gets too long and before I ramble on for too long. But I appreciate those of you who have stayed throughout the entire video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really intend on continuing to do vlogs like this throughout the season as I go to shows, and then just kind of doing a sit down reflection at the end, just to kind of debrief the show, and also, you know, tell you guys what I learned, and yeah, just to spread some knowledge about the sport, because I do love it so much. So anyways, if you guys have made it this far, I appreciate you. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video.